Hi there. I think this might be one of our first Facebook Lives of 2021. I'm Tara Doyle-Enneking, the CEO for the Puyallup-Sumner Chamber of Commerce, and I'm super excited to have Ms. Renee McClain, the CFO of the Washington State Fair and our incoming 2021 Puyallup-Sumner Chamber Board Chair here with us today. So welcome, Renee.
Hello, thank you.
Hello. Well, Renee's very fond to me. She was who offered me this job, my wonderful dream job, and is definitely a great sounding board. She's a bright lady, is passionate about Puyallup, has really done some pretty innovative stuff with the fair. So I'm just excited to sit down with her today and let you all get to know Renee a little bit better as well. So thanks for doing this with us today,
Thanks
Renee.
for inviting me.
Absolutely. So I guess just a little history for everyone. How long have you been involved with the Puyallup-Sumner Chamber?
So I came to the chamber, actually the fair itself has always been involved in the chamber, and the CEO position is usually who's had the involvement. But I had been meeting with Rob Lewis at Columbia Bank and just telling him about my passion, which had really nothing to do with the Puyallup Chamber, but about economic development. Mm-hmm. And he was, I had just come back from Chicago and their master plan and how they had, what they had done there. I had been part of the Downtown Tacoma Association like 30 years ago, and what they had done and see what's come to fruition in Tacoma. And he's like, we have the perfect place for you to come to the chamber.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that was in 2017. He said, really, it's just one meeting a month, it'll be great. And so that was the introduction to the chamber. It was one meeting a month, for just about a year. With my background as the CFO, the position came available as treasurer. And so they asked me to be treasurer. So I said, absolutely, took that on. Then the chamber went through some major transition in 2018. And we then were on the lookout for a new CEO. And I was given the task, since I had done hiring and that at the fair, to be the one kind of in charge of that. And could not be, that's probably my claim to fame now at the chamber, is that I, worked and negotiated to hire Tara. And it was very funny because everybody that I'd called to get references on, they're like, wow, she's interested. You might be able to get her. And I'm like, well, I'm hoping so. And then Tara came on. She literally, is kicking butt. Then the opportunity came up to be the chair-elect. And so they asked me to be the chair-elect. And I said yes. Then we had the pandemic and COVID, so we had another crisis on hand. But the beauty of all of that is that as challenging as the pandemic was, here at the chamber, Tara and her personality, her grit, her determination, she was not going to sit idly by and let that change. She realized that this was the time really for that to get active, to represent the small businesses, whether that just be on a personal level and knocking on their door, making sure they're okay, whether that was on the, on the government level and looking at what bills and ways that they could support. So it has actually made, my job as a chair-elect coming in easier. From the treasurer standpoint, it made it easier because she was very financially fiscal. And, we had an actually amazing 2020 doing it differently, and still ending up with positive results, still being out there supporting the businesses and still being relevant in the community.
Thank you. Well, hey, with a supportive board and a leeway to have a little bit of creativity, we can accomplish all kinds of things here at the chamber with our wee little staff of 4, mighty as we are. So tell us a little bit about your history with the Washington State Fair.
Okay, well, I've been part of the Tacoma community since I graduated from college, so we won't say how many years ago that was, but I'd worked down in Tacoma, and one of the clients of that firm was actually the person who audited the fair. And when I started having children and had left the company I was working at downtown Seattle, I was asked to come work at the fair. So that's like over 26 years ago. And I came there and thought, well, we'll just see how it works. And I was not a person to nest. I was a person that did things for 3 to 5 years because I wanted to try something different. But the fair has been an ever evolving. institution. And what I found is although my background is a CPA and on the accounting side, is that the fair has allowed me to really use my passion and my creativity. And so we're going to talk maybe a little bit more about that, what the fair has done and how I've been able to, with the support of the CEO, who also started at the same time that I did. I started slightly before him, so I always try to in there, but it has, I absolutely love working at the fair. It's an amazing place with amazing people, and what we do, being part of the community is just something that I treasure, and we're fighting like everybody else out there. And so it's been an amazing journey so far.
Yeah, before I guess we talk about some forecasting for 2021, why don't you share with us a little bit about the pivoting and creativity and programming for this last year?
Yeah, so, being an institution that is really based on gathering people, and that's what we do, and that's how we make money, we quickly found, obviously, that we weren't going to be able to do that in the same manner. We didn't have enough time to pivot to decide what we were going to do for our spring fair, because that was in April, and really it was like mid-March when we got the instructions we couldn't open. But as soon as we got through that, we realized, okay, what can we do? We realized that what was near and dear to our, to our guests was our Fair Food to Go. So we launched our first Fair Food to Go in July. When we realized that the fair itself wasn't going to be able to happen, we then started the Fair Food to Go for September. Both of those were just extremely well received, but they were one-dimensional more or less, just really focusing on our food. So Kent Hojan and I took a golf cart in the month of September, drove around, and our dream has always been to have a holiday event. Well, this was the perfect time, it seemed, to launch that. So we, on a little yellow pad, because those are his favorite pads to work on, created what became Holiday Magic. And with Ed Barnes, who was our Chief Operating Officer, we basically laid it out in September, got approval from our board in October. He had literally 1 month to actually make that come to fruition, and he did an amazing job. And we were ecstatic. We sold out immediately. We continued to add spots as we could handle it, and it just continued to grow and did better and better as the event went on.
So fantastic. And it was magical. And that's incredible.
Yep. So, and again, you will see that event in 2021 in probably some hybrid model where there'll still be a drive-through for that part of it to not get out of your car. But we are hoping to have ice skating and a live nativity and Santa's Village, or you name it. We are super excited. So get ready for maybe even an ice bar.
Ooh, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. So you had a lot of lights to get at the last minute. How did procurement go for your Christmas light?
Well, and this is where, you have staff and they're vested and they're passionate. One of our staff members had worked for Wild Waves years ago. And probably the biggest and most substantial thing we got is she connected with them. They were no longer doing that event. They had they had a substantial amount of lights in storage. And we were able to negotiate a deal with them to get those lights. We also worked with Victoria Christmas, who has their event at the fair that wasn't going to have it. And so between those two, because actually in November, we would not have been able to procure the lights needed for the show. Because by that time, everything, especially on a commercial level, is already sold out. And many people pivoted to do something, that was a drive-through. I think what I'm really most proud of when I talk about that is we had other fairs and other entities that did drive-through. This was a self-produced in-house. This means that our staff was out there putting up the lights, creating the displays. We had our team selling the sponsorship, the ticket sales, and so this was self-produced. So even in the fair industry, it was very unique, and I'm really proud of that. And it just shows when you have the right people what they can accomplish, which we've always known at the fair, but this was just magical to see them put it together.
I love it. I just want to call out, I see Kevin Enlow, Kurt Jimistat also, our past chair board on, and Christy Brady, who else? Debbie Baker.
Hi, Debbie. That's wonderful. Yeah, there we go.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about what you know for 2021. I'm sure there's still a lot of unknowns, but is there anything you can tell us that you do know?
Well, and I think what is exciting, actually, that Debbie's on there is kind of fun because she has constantly been working with our event show. So she runs all of our facility rental events. So she is constantly working with them to find out what fits in the guideline. And there are things, very, specific things that we can do. We can have engineering exams. We can have racing, the flat track racing where there is no, anybody in the stands, bystanders. So she is continually working on that. She's continually working to try to get, as soon as retail is allowed at the fairgrounds, which we think is really a must, that we can actually control and do that every bit as good as a mall or a downtown corridor. And so we are working on that. And so those events that can happen, some of them may end up going to a drive-through model or a drive-in, whether that be Sportsman Show or Sewing and Stitchery or The Good Guys. So she is, definitely continually working on a daily basis. But what we're getting ready for now is that, the possibility we may have some kind of a drive-in movie going inside a building in the month of February. Cross our fingers that may happen. You may have seen that we continue to be a site for testing for COVID through Pierce County, free testing in our blue lot. So that is actually happening this Tuesday, and it's been happening ongoing. We actually have also been a site on this Thursday for the actual vaccine. And that's already been sold out, unfortunately, but get ready because, I think there'll be more of those to come. And so we're really excited. We, at one time, were looked at to be a potential off-site what do you want to call it, hospital.
Right, extra beds if needed.
And it ended up that wasn't needed, which is a blessing to not be needed. But, we're one of those first places that gets the call for these things to happen. So we do know that our spring fair being in April is one of those events that's going to either have, restrictions, but we're ready. I mean, there are all sorts of exciting things. Like it may be that it is part of it is a reverse parade, so we can actually have the daffodil parade and some exposure there. It may have monster trucks on display if we can't actually have that. But it is we're doing something. And so all of our guests can come, and we don't want there to be drive-through fatigue.
Right.
And we want to do something fresh and different. If there's any way that we can have a hybrid model, we will do that. And so, it's super exciting. Of all the years I've been there, 26 years, I'd have to say that I'm probably most proud of this past year, that we, obviously financially, it was not one of our best years. But we were, we did, the management team and the staff just really came together and had to use our creativity and our passion to put on these events. And so very proud.
And much to be proud of. You're definitely a great champion of the fair. You're also a great champion of business and the chamber. You and I had an opportunity last Monday to kind of forecast and look at the year and what that might look like as a board chair and a CEO of a chamber. New programming, casting a big vision. You and I have a lot of energy. I always, after I'm done with Renee, we both, I think, have to kind of bring it down. But I think our energy and passion and enthusiasm is really going to make for a fun chamber year. I think, come along for the ride, definitely. But let's talk a little bit about some of the visions and programs or ideas you might have being a board chair that you hope we can accomplish this upcoming year.
Right, and I think it helps to know in my background, my husband always laughs at me because I was raised in Cedar Woolley, small town. I went to college in Ellensburg, slightly maybe larger town. There was a drive-through there. And then I came to live in Puyallup, and so we always laugh like, you are really, moving up. But that is kind of my passion. And regardless of the size of the city or the town that you are in, and there's Sumner and there's Puyallup that we are representing, both of those cities, and the bigger, zip codes that entail, is to really, to make them vibrant, right? And to make them on the retail side, shopping, on the food side. My passion really is in that economic development. And if you to have that vision, what does it look like? What's the brand? How do we do that? And it may take, like I said, when I was involved with the Downtown Tacoma Association, was over 30 years ago, they were talking about having a UW campus, and they were talking about having museums, and they were talking about the Asarco plant being redeveloped and having condos. And I honestly was, this 22, 23-year-old going, really? And then to sit back here and watch how that has slowly unfolded, I think is amazing. The same could be said from Chicago, but it also can be said on a small town level. If you're looking at a Bend in Oregon or different areas, is who are we and how are we a community for those that live here? And we have some of the most iconic things, already here. We have the Washington State Fair as a cornerstone. We have a farmer's market, which is, throughout the state of Washington is the top farmer's market. We have, a hospital. We have a mall. We are the doorway to Mount Rainier.
Right.
So there is already in Sumner in the same way. So we have all of these pieces, and it's to decide, how do we develop How do we get the brand? And so I'm really excited to work with Tara, and we're going to start really digging into that.
Yep, and got great partners at the city. But yeah, we just see this brimming, and so I'm really excited to hopefully, we had last year, which, we did our best just to kind of make it through it, I guess, and provide as much as we can in the way of resources to our businesses. This year is definitely focused on recovery from that as well, but we're already casting that vision, and we know economic development, economic recovery is going to be a big part of what the Chamber is doing here, and I'm excited to have a partner here that feels as passionate as I do about it as well.
And I think one thing, Tara, I've said to you is that, I am not a political being. I mean, that's just not, and I believe that small businesses are represented by Democrats and Republicans, and
Absolutely.
we have our city governments in Sumner and Puyallup that have made up of both of those, and I really believe we all need to work together and have the same desires for these communities, and I think that we all do, and this is a time for us all to come together and rise above and make this, even a more amazing community.
Amen.
Amen.
Love it. Let's learn a little bit about your personal life. What do we got going on?
All right. Well, I am a mother of 4 children. So I have 2 that have graduated and are working. One is a CPA and works for Deloitte in the Costa Mesa area. And I have a daughter that was a poli-sci major at UW, got her master's at Syracuse, and now she's actually working in Seattle for Path, which is a global health company. And I have a senior in college in Southern California playing Division III basketball, which that season has been canceled. And then I have a freshman or sophomore at the UW in Seattle. So that really is my, my passion. I have started to take up hiking to try to get healthy.
Good.
And yes, I know. And I am on the United Way Finance Committee. And Terry hears me talk about, but probably one thing I'm passionate about is, to find a way to change this whole, my parents were a big boys and girls supporter, but just to find a way to figure out so that, homelessness is not on the rise, that homelessness is on the decline. I don't think that we can find a solution for every case, but it's gotten to the point where it's affecting all of our lives. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's a way, and I'm going to create a nonprofit. I've decided that I'm going to find a mentoring way that we can each take on one person and be their mentor. And that is almost a mentor for life, because some of that you can't just be with a person for 3 months or, a year. It's like they need to have someone on the other side that is always there from a support standpoint. So
I love that idea.
I really I'm on the foundation board at the fair, which is an amazing foundation, which I was able to be a part of starting, and scholarships, and they do pieces that support the fair, our museum, our farm at Sillyville. So that's, I think I really, know at the time when I decided to retire from the fair, which seems like that's going to be from a long time from now, because so many exciting things are always happening, but I will definitely get into that.
I love it. We're very lucky to have her, as you can see, just her passion, energy, and just her experience thus far. So just a great partner here. Well, a question we often ask a lot of our interviewees is, what's your favorite Disney movie?
Oh, yeah. Well, when Kent and I interview people, we ask them their favorite superhero. So this is a little play on this, but this is kind of... So actually, this is The Lion King. Oh. And so that was actually, in raising my kids, one of the first movies that came out that we watched. Yep. Very interesting. My husband names all of our children. He named our daughter Kiara, which was actually before the second Lion King came out, and the name Kiara had been established. And so he named it because it meant to make a difference. And so that is my favorite. I love the music. I love the humor. And I can't wait to get to South Africa.
I love it. I love it. A chamber trip to South Africa.
Yes, there we go.
Well, one final piece of business. We have our very first 2021 new board directors meeting on this upcoming Wednesday. We have 4 new board directors. We're really excited to welcome aboard Luke Corum of Bill Corum's Puyallup Nissan. We have Cameron Roberts of McKesson Pharmaceutical, Therese Pasquire of Sound Family Medicine, and Justin Jones of JMJ Consulting out in Sumner. So really just growing this chamber into such a wonderful, robust, dynamic, incredible individuals, helping lead the charge here for economic development to make sure you businesses are getting all that you need, support-wise, networking. So, hey, we're just, we're looking up. So COVID is not holding us back. But on that note, a little official piece of business in front of our chamber audience here. This will be official at our board meeting this upcoming Wednesday, but Kurt Jimestad did a fantastic job during COVID, which was probably, you go from a board director having to play a very proactive role pre-COVID to being in such a reactive mode, which is kind of a different managing by crisis a little. And he did such a great job and was always just a true also mentor for me and a great person to work with on our Monday meetings, and offered great guidance and just some good sound, level-headed advice as we just sort of navigated our way through that. So Kurt Jemistad, I'm prying this out of your hands.
He's probably throwing it at us.
There you go. And I am presenting it to Renee McClain, the new board chair, who, again, we're very excited, and just a different year and lots of prospects ahead of us. So welcome and congratulations. And I'm very excited. I'm sure the Chamber's excited. And I see Patty Denny watching and a lot of others, and we really appreciate you tuning in today.
I think I saw Wendy McGregor, who actually runs my vault during the fair, on there as well. So I think my glasses aren't on, so I'm not sure.
Neither of us. We're just, yep. Well, hey, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be running this in our Chamber Chatter. So if you missed any part of it, be sure to tune in there. But hey, thanks for supporting. We love you. Happy 2021.
Let's go.
Let's go. Thanks.